Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology, debunking mythology. And Sattology, you all know, is science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, science or study of fake, lie, or imagination. And thank you for liking my speech at the US Asia Business Forum in Los Angeles. And I was invited as an author. I have a very, very special guest and a friend we're going to talk about multiple things. Let us welcome Sri Abhijit Iyer Mitra.
Hello.
Abhijit, word salad is becoming very famous because the ice cream is cold because it is not frozen, it is not hot, and it is also not liquid. It is not kept on the gas, and because it is cold, it brings coldness to our mouth. What do you have to add to that?
So see, word salad is an old leftist trick. First, they conjure up, uh, they create these constructs, so to say. They give it very high sounding, highfalutin names. And then they explain it to you because mostly it goes over everybody's head. Because it's all meant to be for the people. So every smart guy is expected to dumb themselves down to the dumbest character in the room. So invariably, what you end up with is you have to give explanations for even the most basic things within that. So see, it works at two levels. One is make the stuff jargon heavy. The second is, simple example of that is, throughout when communism was banned in Russia, the Tsarist censors never banned Karl Marx's Das Kapital. Do you know why? Why?
I don't know.
Because they said it was too boring. Who the hell is going to read this crap? Literally, go check it out, Google it. They never banned Das Kapital because they literally said this is a bunch of bunkum. It's boring, tedious bunkum which nobody's going to read, let alone buy. And it was true. So it was not Das Kapital that got all the crowds moving. It was all the sloganeering that got the crowd moving, which was, I am a woman sitting at a table. My pronouns are she, her, and I am wearing a blue blouse, to quote somebody in the White House at the moment. So yeah, so this is like, it's not new. You actually go back to the early days of Soviet Russia, you'll find a lot of advertisements and things like that just explaining basic crap.
If I explain in the word salad form the Chinese situation right now, it will be something like, because China is not happy, so they want to shoot down the plane, and because China wants to shoot down the plane, China is not happy. And
Look, China is not going to shoot down the plane. Let's be very, very clear about this. They're going to harry it and things like that because they're very stupid. This way, they will not shoot it down. They will throw tantrums after she lands, if she lands. I doubt if I admire Pelosi for what she's doing. It was something that needed to be done. She's probably taking on her president's little China clique that controls his son and controls him through the son, or at least the love for the son, if not directly. But she's not going to get shut down. They will do something to Taiwan after that as punishment, but it's going to be one of those tantrums. I always got told never climb a tree that you don't know how to climb down. Right? And the problem is Pelosi is climbing up a tree that America doesn't know how to climb down. The problem, of course, is the good thing. It's not a problem for America, but it's a minor problem for America. The bigger problem for China is they're climbing up a tree that they can't climb down. What do you do if you either shoot down the majority leader of Congress or harry her plane that it falls into the sea, effectively killing her? That's an act of war against America. Let's be very clear about that, right? The Chinese can't do that. So they're going to end up, why do you create a situation about things where you're forcing yourself into a corner where you have to act, or you end up losing face? She could have gone to Taiwan, they could have just condemned it and not lost any face. They have made a situation now where if Pelosi lands, they lose face. I hope Pelosi lands, man. It'll be fun.
No, one of the consensus is not only she should land, but she should land in broad daylight. So that, yes, and for the first time, Republicans, everyone is supporting her in a big way.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm supporting her big time. Much needed. Good on you, Nancy Pelosi. There are very few things we agree on. This is one of them.
I think she just needs an extra peg of whiskey so that she can fly there and land there. And
She's already on too much whiskey or whatever it is.
she's
She
little bit
needs nothing more. No, not really.
So
We don't want her making a Boris Yeltsin of herself.
I don't know where you come up with these. This is a good one, actually. Historically correct. Now, the point, the next is that Al-Zawahiri. The Al-Zawahiri was reported to be already dead 1 year back by Beyond News through a natural disease. And so, what do you make of this new report coming out that he was killed in a drone strike in Afghanistan?
I would say it's quite credible. I think we all knew that Zawahiri hadn't been killed at that point of time. There would have been some kind of, I wouldn't say repercussions, but there would have been some official this thing. Right now, we can be quite sure that Zawahiri is in fact dead, and that it was the Taliban were hiding him. It was a violation of the Doha Agreement. But then, did anyone have any doubt that the Doha Agreement was going to get violated? I didn't. So, best of luck.
See, one of the things which really startles me...
And he was in a house that was owned by Sirajuddin Haqqani, the head of the Haqqani network that now controls the government.
And which is Pakistani origins, right? Am I right? Haqqanis?
Well, they were. Now they've turned against Pakistan as well. Well, they've not turned against, but they're in the process of turning against.
See, if we look at the Afghanistan and Russia and Iran and China, like this is all becoming one belt now, kind of from the international point of view. Like from the Western point of view, from the US point of view, this is the biggest challenge. And for India, parts of it are friends and parts of it are not friends. So how does this pose a serious security risk for the rest of the world other than the US?
So see, America is always the farthest removed from the consequences of its actions, right? Invariably, the retaliation. Remember, jihadists don't need to have a reason to retaliate. You remember the bombing of the Atocha station in Spain? What did Spain do to anyone to get that bombing at Atocha station? Right? So it's just they'll decide what they can hit and they'll claim it's revenge for Zawahiri's death. And America is separated by an ocean. So, America always feels the consequences the last.
See, more and more, I think and I'll come back to a little bit about the media and particularly about the film industries, whether it's a US film industry or it's an Indian film industry. Now, Indian film industry is divided into multiple language groups. I know you don't like vernacular, but Indian media and film industry has multiple languages. One of them is Hindi. In US, there's a Hollywood, which has mostly primarily English media, English language movies. And both of them have a rather very leftist viewpoint and it builds up a national character. Both of them oppose traditional festivals or the mainstream population or the major majority of population, and a lot of similarities. But in India, the wokeism in the film industry is always there to challenge Hindu or demean or show Hindus in a bad light. So do you think that the current film industry in India, especially the Hindi based in Mumbai, are geared to understand the new realities of India, or they do understand?
So look, it's only the Hindi film industry that does this. You look at the Telugu or the Karnataka or the Tamil film industry, they don't do that in their films. Okay, it's a very unique to Hindi cinema, and even there they are now suffering badly. So you look at what's happening to Lal Singh Chaddha. Amir Khan has had to come out and beg people not to boycott it. So, it's people power ultimately does show. In America, I think the film industry, look, to be fair, the film industry aren't the smartest people on earth, right? Art is art because it's so removed from reality. They attempt, there's a whole genre attempting to show reality to the people, the reality of suffering and all of that. And even then, they don't actually show you the reality. It's all artsy. It's poverty porn in that sense, or suffering porn. Essentially, it's a non-sexualized BDSM in a different way, so that you can get away from your guilt, at least crying on stage when some fake actor playing a fake role of being poor, getting paid millions to play the role of a poor, starving, whatever, dies on screen. Okay, so it's kind of uh, uh, it's like Christian guilt. Jesus died for your sins, and therefore this actor is dying for your you're a horrible, mean capitalist, Aditya Satsangi. You make millions of dollars while poor Mexican immigrants die on the streets of America, Mexican and Guatemalan immigrants, and you're laughing very shamelessly on TV when I say this. And so, when Tom Cruise gets paid $80 million to die on screen, like our Lord in Christ died on the cross. Now, Jesus actually died on the cross. He actually suffered a heck of a lot. Tom Cruise is a bloody actor, but he thinks he's Jesus Christ when he dies. He gets into this God complex when he dies. Right? So this is, putting it onto somebody else, shifting the guilt from away from yourself. This is what Hollywood is very good at, and that's what the Hindi film industry is very good at, because they get paid obscene amounts. They wouldn't know poverty if it hit them in the face. They wouldn't know suffering if it hit them in their face. That their idea of suffering is not getting enough cocaine or crystal meth to meet their daily quota or whatever. And they pretend. Tell me, when did an artist ever really know suffering properly?
You never know when
The
he's
big
there not
ones.
acting.
The
Yeah.
small ones are all, sure, I can agree. The small ones don't, because nobody's buying them and they're dirt poor and they're not very good at their jobs either. But the big ones, you tell me, when have they actually ever known suffering or whatever?
No,
So this is all drama. This is drama to keep you. Do you remember that movie Waterworld with Mel Gibson?
Yeah.
Or was it Kevin Costner? Kevin Costner.
Kevin
Wasn't
Costner.
it? Kevin Costner.
Kevin
Kevin
Costner.
Costner. And you remember how the leader of that boat, he always says, I've spotted dry land. I've got a vision of dry land. Let's all row, 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 row. This is like that. Okay. So let it be. This is what the left wing does everywhere. They create these fairy tale castles, like their economic fairy tale castles. They create social fairy tale castles. It's to keep the population in a constant state of rage. A constant state, because everything is failing, you still need to feel that you're going towards something. Mao Zedong used to do this. Stalin used to do this. Oh, look at all these anti-nationals and anti-Trotskyites, counter-revolutionaries, and whatever. And for Mao Zedong, it was the bourgeois class, bourgeois conspiracy, and whatever. It's the same thing.
It's so funny that the standards of
But people fall for it. And that tells you that 90% of all people are stupid, generally.
the old movies, the old time 70s and 80s and 90s, they had so much more entertainment than today's movies. Isn't that true? Like
Today's movies aren't entertaining.
it's
They're not entertaining because remember, to get into the awards, into the Oscars or whatever, you need to tick categories. You have to show transsexuals. You have to show interracial relationship, and you're like, how? I mean, how is that a measure of acting if you show all this crap? Okay. See, there was Priscilla of the Desert. There were other movies. There was Trans-America, which is have you seen Trans-America? It's a fantastic movie.
I haven't seen that. Yeah.
And there were movies that actually spoke. They were about something serious, but they were beautifully acted. But see, you can't. I mean, if you're doing a movie on Cleopatra, it wasn't technically an interracial relationship because Cleopatra was Greek.
Correct.
Mostly Greek blood. There was some Berber blood in her as well. Apparently, her mother was Berber and things like that. But it was a Greek and a Roman, which wasn't really interracial. And where are you going to bring in a transsexual angle into it? Where are you going to bring a gay angle into it? Because the Romans weren't terribly gay. The Greeks were. The saying goes, the Greeks invented sex and the Romans introduced it to women. Because the Greeks didn't have sex with women. They just, the hoplites humping the hoplites and kind of thing. That's the story anyway. But yeah, how are you going to bring this angle in? I mean, it's ridiculous. But this is how it floats.
So do you think the current White House is elected by some Hollywood producer based on your definition? Is a perfect movie. It's like it is going to...
No, the Biden administration is when Hollywood crashes reality. It's. I'll tell you one show I always hated because it was just so unrealistic and naive was The West Wing.
Correct.
But everybody aspires to the West Wing as this is the idealized president. And the problem is, even the failings of President Bartlett in that are minor failings. They're not really major failings that any human being would have.
Right.
Most human failings would be far, far greater than President Bartlett. So even there, he could not save 10,000 people. But he didn't lose 10,000 people. He lost one man, and that's so tragic. So, unrealistic. So they basically created this make-believe of unrealistic idealism, which everybody then has to live up to, and reality is never ideal. See, the left believes that it is scientifically possible to breed, to condition human failings out of human beings. Okay. Christianity believes that it can be done through prayer and piety. But Christian history shows you that it can't be done. Right? Just like leftist history shows you, it can't be done. Right? The belief in the USSR was the day everybody starts reading Tolstoy and Gorky and starts listening to the ballet and to the opera, society will be crimeless and crime-free and all of that. All my friends in the Russian mafia are all much more cultured than me. They know much more opera than me. They go to ballet. I have a very limited repertoire of ballet. I only go to Tchaikovsky's ballets, right? Swan Lake at best. Maybe Nutcracker. Nutcracker has a lot of bad music, just as what's the other one? Sleeping Beauty also has, Sleeping Beauty is 50% good, 50% bad, and Nutcracker has very few good pieces. These guys will go to all the unheard of ballets, Minkus and Petipa and all those people. And they'll be talking about it and like, what the hell are you people talking about? And they're all A-grade thugs. It doesn't work that way. Right? So it is what it is.
Now, coming back to one question. So if I were to, because we have copied everything, including Bollywood copies movie scripts everywhere. If the Indian government copies a script from the White House, then how will the Indian cabinet look like? We'll have one transgender or two transgenders and one spokesperson. How does it look like?
Look, I don't think it's... we've had transgender members of legislative assemblies. I think we have had 2-3 of them so far. We've had a trans university set up in Uttar Pradesh. Yogi Adityanath set it up. I think Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh have had trans persons as elected to some legislative post or the other, councillor or legislative post or the other. It's happening slowly. So the question isn't one of representation. It's one of how you empower people. And the only state doing that today is UP, which is the first which, if rumor would have you believe, or if the New York Times would have you believe, or the Washington Post would have you believe, is the most regressive state, is the one state that's actually investing in the education and future of transgender people. That's how you do it. Equality of opportunity, not equality of results. Because results is what you make of the opportunity.
No,
Is there privilege? Of course there is. But everybody overcomes privilege at some point of time.
true.
At one point when the human population was just 50 or 100 apes sitting in Africa, if you had how maybe two or three were very powerful. Today, you out of say what a world population of 7 billion, say about 100, 200 million would be very powerful, very rich, whatever, and the rest would be better off than they were ever before. So we've generally been going towards progress in that sense, but it's just repackaging failed ideas differently. But in India, thankfully, wokeism hasn't taken off. I think wokeism is when you've achieved a post-religious, post-industrial society where most equalities have been achieved as can be naturally. And you're looking, it's literally like Don Quixote searching for demons in windmills.
Very apt.
It's literally tilting at windmills.
Good example. Yeah. So one question I have, Draupadi Murmu, I'm very happy that she became the president, a great choice of India. Do you think, in your viewpoint, from you study America more than most of Americans, so do you think America will ever appoint a Native American as a president of the United States?
I don't think they're a coherent enough vote bank. But they did have Barack Obama, which is very good. Now they've got Kamala, who's like African
Jamaican.
Indian.
She's Jamaican. She calls herself
Jamaican. Jamaica. Yeah. She doesn't do the Rasta thing.
I take them on face value. If they say Jamaican, I said, okay, you are Jamaican. I don't want to force you.
I don't consider an Indian. Look, the woman can't even pronounce her name properly.
But she makes dosa.
It's Kamala.
There are YouTube videos on dosa.
No, she makes really shitty dosa, dude.
Oh, is it?
Okay. And yeah, with Mindy Kaling, there was a YouTube video of her with Mindy Kaling making dosa.
Correct.
And the only thing she could find is some coffee pot that they all used to empty and use to store spices in. That dosa that she made, Mindy Kaling, of course, Kamala didn't know how to make dosa. Mindy Kaling had to teach her how to make a dosa. And that dosa, I would not feed my dog.
Yeah, because the dosa laughed.
Well, it was a terrible dosa. Right. So anyway, forget that. This is a woman who suddenly wants to feel Indian. She can't even pronounce her own name properly. It's not Kamala, it's Kamala. She can't even pronounce her own bloody name properly. Are you kidding?
No, the thing is, in USA, many Indians make the mistake. They follow a social pattern of pronouncing a name. So if somebody is having a name and what the Americans pronounce, they start saying in that way. So it makes it easy for them to understand.
Why?
I'm an exception.
They should learn how to pronounce my name.
Exactly.
I don't have to change my name so that you can fucking pronounce it easier.
True.
Right. Technically, it's not David. Okay, in Hebrew, it would be David.
David.
It's not Isaac. In Hebrew, it would be Yitzhak.
Yitzhak. That's right.
Okay. But I don't go around calling you Yitzhak, even though that is the correct pronunciation. If your name is Isaac, I call you Isaac.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't call Jesus Christ Yeshua ben Yusuf, which is technically his Jewish name.
Right. That's right.
Right. So you learn to pronounce my name properly.
True. I make people walk the mile to pronounce my name, or I mispronounce a simple name like Michael. I say Mikhail, something like that, which hurts them like badly. Or Mickey. So the last point in today's discussion is we are seeing today the India is largely viewed as a superpower in the US right now in terms of policy making, how to make friends, and like so many
I
people.
think they say that in private. I can tell you, no government, Republican or Democrat, actually knows that. The view of India is of a pot that's permanently on simmer but never boils. Okay, it's essentially a flaccid husband or a barren wife. Take your pick. You can keep pumping, and no kids are ever going to come out of it. The chicken ain't laying eggs. Okay, the hubby ain't orgasmic.
I had some
Uh,
comments to make, but I won't make it here.
but that's the truth. India talks big. India does not deliver. Okay, India constantly talks big. This is not the first time we're hearing this. Oh, India is the emerging, constantly emerging. When are you going to emerge? Right? We're not. I mean, let's be very clear about this. I know, Indians get very flattered when somebody says something nice. The only thing they're interested in is getting flattered. They never want to hear bad things about their own country. They never want to hear the reality of their country. You tell me, how is it? It doesn't matter which industry is it. It is, like I said, the Tamil, Telugu, Kannada film industry are very different from the Hindi film industry, but they're all same in one thing. They don't want to give you a reality check. They only want to make these feel good movies. Tell me, when you were romancing any girl you like, does music start playing around? Do you suddenly learn dance steps? Do your friends suddenly learn choreography out of nowhere and come dancing? No! But this happens in Hindi movies. It happens in Tamil movies. It happens in Telugu movies. It happens in every Indian movie. How? Because Indians don't want reality. No Indian wants you to drag them by the hair and smell their own bloody rectum. They want you to lovingly push you into a bed of roses, hopefully laced with cocaine, so that they can get away out of the dreadful, dreary reality of their actual lives. And they keep talking about, oh, India the superpower, India the superpower. My God. India will become a superpower the day the Pope gives birth to kids.
He might soon, because he.
I doubt that very much.
So the movie industry you just said, I think most of the dances which I see, people will get slip discs in the West. The kind of movement they have, mostly most of the people. So coming to Russia and Ukraine now, this is a question which has come from the audience. What is the latest with the Russia and Ukraine?
Nothing. Russia just keeps taking more and more land slowly. It's painful, it's bloody, it's horrible for both sides, it's nasty. The Ukrainians have tried everything, it's clearly not stopping, and Russia is just slowly taking more and more and more land.
And did the American HIMARS actually made a dent in their progress a little bit? Or
Initially it did, and then it stopped, just like everything else. See, the Switchblade drones, they made a difference initially, and then the Russians learned how to counter them. The Bayraktar drones initially made a difference, and then the Russians learned how to counter them. The M777 initially made a difference, and then the Russians knew how to counter them. So the same thing happens with HIMARS, right? This is the reality of it.
So thank you, Abhijit, and I know you have to go. And thank you all the viewers for watching. And I really like the questions today. And you have a very dedicated fan base in our student circles here. So really like questions today. Thank you so much. And I was random because the questions are random. So thank you all. And because if I talk to Abhijit, it will be a totally different level. Thank you. Namaste. Bye.
Bye.